think a lot of times entrepreneurs take for granted our risk tolerance. So I'll start talking about the amount of money that I have to invest or how much this is no big deal. Whereas I can see people are across the table from me vividly uncomfortable because it's not ever a conversation that they've had with themselves or even at all. And certainly it's not, that level of risk was not anything that they would have ever considered. So
what does Mojo mean to you?
Welcome to CEO Mojo, where we inspire business leaders to get motivated. In our weekly podcast, we talk about the ideas, stories, and lessons of these successful entrepreneurs and how they overcome the challenges that hold them back from getting in touch with their mojo so that you will get motivated. Our host is Joe Apfelbaum, CEO and co-founder of Ajax Union, a digital marketing agency based in Brooklyn. Joe is a certified Google trainer and was featured on Fox Business News, Bloomberg, and The Wall Street Journal. He's a published author, and his thought leadership appears regularly on Forbes, Business Insider, and Entrepreneur.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Apfelbaum.
Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of CEO Mojo. Today I'd like to introduce my friend and fellow CEO, Laura Webb. Laura is the president of Webb Insurance Group, an independent agency that handles every aspect of home, automobile, and business insurance services. Webb Insurance Group won South Tampa Business of the Year in 2008. Laura is the president of Entrepreneurs Organization in Tampa Bay. I'm really excited to interview Laura Webb today, so let's get this started. Welcome to another amazing episode of CEO Mojo. Thank you for joining us here today. I really appreciate you being part of this program, Laura.
thanks for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
So as you might know, we speak about the beliefs, the failures, the work ethic, focus, fears, relationships, and purpose that entrepreneurs need to have to take their business and their life to the next level. Now, I know as an amazing entrepreneur that's wholesome and has built this amazing company from zero to north of 7 figures, you've had some beliefs that you probably used to have that you would need to challenge in order for you to be able to achieve this type of success. We all had beliefs that we had to kind of like change and challenge. What are some beliefs that you had about yourself or about business or about luck or about the world that you kind of had to really question and then change in order for you to be able to be such a successful entrepreneur?
That's a great question. Well, I think that one thing I definitely learned the hard way was that not all people want the right thing. All people are still good, don't get me wrong, but I think I definitely was naive to thinking that all people have the same values that I do. So that's been, definitely something that I've had to just be a lot more cognizant of, especially in doing business and things along those lines. In insurance, for definitely, is, especially when I come up against some of my I don't mean to speak ill about my competitors, but you definitely have conversations with prospects and you're happy that they found you because that you know that the integrity that you have within your corporation and the employees that you've chosen to hire within your corporation and the level of integrity that they have is beneficial for the client. So
yeah, it's just so amazing. It's just so amazing to see that. I also had that self-limiting belief, and I always thought that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and everybody wants to kill it and everybody wants to improve their self and kind of do all that stuff. And I realized, you know what? No, everyone has values. Just because your values are different than mine, that doesn't make you worse. But yes, our competitors don't have the same values as we do. They don't necessarily care about their clients and their employees as much as we do. We had a little workshop. What did you learn from 2016? Yesterday, and everyone's talking, and we're like, okay, what did you learn at the previous company that you were at that you can bring to Ajax Union? We asked some of the new people, and they're like, I like Ajax Union is one of the most amazing places because of the values and the vision and all that stuff, but those companies were just very reactive. They didn't do anything for their employees. They didn't really, they're like trying to think about what they could bring, and they were scratching the bottom of the barrel, and they're like, you know what? Most companies are not like that. Most people are not like that. And I had to kind of like believe that, you know what, maybe I am special. Maybe there is something special about me. Did you ever feel that?
Oh, that's definitely, it's hard to wrap your arms around, right? It really,
it's a big responsibility.
There is, right. Well, and you know what I think too is that I think a lot of times entrepreneurs take for granted our risk tolerance. Like, I really don't think we think about the amount of risk that we just willingly take on without even considering it, because it just doesn't phase us per se. Whereas, so I'll start talking about the amount of money that I have to invest, or how much this is, what's going to be, what is going to be the layout that we have to do. And I'm just talking about it like it's no big deal. Whereas I can see people that are across the table from me vividly uncomfortable, because it's not ever a conversation that they've had with themselves or even at all. And certainly it's not, that level of risk was not anything that they would have ever considered. So
yeah, and you as an insurance person, you know everything about risk.
Right.
Risk specialist. Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, we have to take some major risks, and sometimes being able to overcome that failure that most people just can't overcome. And that takes me to the second question. Has there been a failure, a catastrophic failure in your business, a story about something that you kind of had to show resilience, you had to overcome something that maybe the average person would not be able to overcome, and as a result, you're able to be as successful as you are? Was there a failure that you want to share?
Yeah, so I would say in one specific situation, I had an employee that had some criminal activity that had affected her license, and I definitely probably I was not as involved as I should have been with what the outcome of that was going to be. Like, what's the status of it? Where are we? Oh, it's fine. It's coming along. It's fine. And that was really putting the agency at risk of potential failure. And so from that, I learned that I do need to be a little bit more in some people's business than, again, I probably had been in the past. So that would say, and the reason I even bring that up is that then turned into, because of the nature of the situation, it turned into a culture issue. So it affected a lot more than just that one individual. It affected the overall organization, because obviously things had to be kept private, and so there was only so much you could share. But then the impression on the outside, it really made it made a very difficult situation. So I definitely learned a lot from that. And so to say that it was a failure, I think I don't know who, I know I let myself down, obviously, maybe some of my other employees. So that was definitely.
Sometimes we got to make some really, really tough decisions. And, sometimes when we don't make those decisions right away, we end up learning for the future, saying, oh my goodness, next time I really have to kind of change, because I really impacted my company. I really impacted the people's integrity and so on. So that's very powerful to see. You have one of the most amazing work ethics that I've seen in entrepreneurs. You're always killing it. You're always pushing it. Even at events, you're learning and growing. Where do you get your amazing work ethic from?
Oh, my dad. For sure. My dad, I don't know if he would necessarily call himself an entrepreneur per se. I've had this conversation with my forum on quite a few times, because I feel like there might be a difference between like business owners and entrepreneurs, because my dad owned his business. He was an accountant. He had a firm. He had, but he wasn't necessarily trying to reinvent. I mean, accountants are somewhat, they can be creative, but there's also a limit, much like insurance agents. A lot of our, we recently submitted the Business of the Year application for the South Tampa Chamber of Commerce. And one of the questions was, how is your company innovative? And, my comment was, it's really difficult to be innovative when you have a product that's regulated. So the way that we've found ourselves to try and be innovative is the way that we communicate with clients. We try and be easy to do business with. We send documents via, electronic signature, as opposed to making them come in and sign them, or even some agencies still use faxing, and, you have to sign it and fax it back. So we tried to be more innovative within our culture, as opposed to innovative from our product. But going back to where my drive was, I would say that's probably the same thing with my dad. Like, I think he tried to be somewhat innovative with his company, but he definitely, CPAs work tremendous, goodness amount of hours during tax season. It's just, but the one thing I will say too is that he always made time for family. Like, we had dinner together every single night. So he either got up and was at the office at 4 a.m, come home for dinner, and then, maybe would take a nap, or he would be at the office at 8, come home for dinner, and go back until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's powerful to see when you have a business owner or an entrepreneur that lives their life fully, that not only works really, really, really hard, but makes time for those that are important to them. And you could see the impact that your father had on you. And as a result of him working really, really hard, but also having the value of coming home for the family created this balance of I work really, really hard, but at the same time, I care about my employees. I care about the environment. I care about the community. I care about my clients. And that's what instills amazing values in people. Now, as entrepreneurs, it's so easy to get distracted with all the opportunity around us. You work with so many businesses and individuals doing their insurance. How do you stay focused on your most important goal when you have all these ideas floating around?
That's a great question. So, of course, I mean, I think it's, just keeping yourself accountable. From a daily perspective, obviously, I'm a list maker. I make it before I leave, the day before. I even make lists sometimes for, a week out for things that I need to okay, let me just let this marinate for a little while. Let's follow up on it then. And it's interesting to always see what those lists look like. From, a number standpoint, we've got charts all over the office. So as far as, the tactical parts of things, I really try and get as many people to buy into it as possible so that we're all accountable for it. And it's not just my goal, it's a group goal. So I think that's for sure where we've, as an office, have been able to be successful in achieving goals. So
it's important to have other people buy in to your vision, to the
Absolutely.
goals, because it's so easy. Otherwise, you just get distracted. Everyone goes off and does their own thing.
Right. Absolutely. So, or they just don't realize the impact of, it's just one account. Well, okay, but that's one, we have over 2,500 clients.
Wow.
Yes, right, it's only one account, but if you say that for a certain number of people, then where do we end up with? So keeping those, those numbers top of mind is really important.
And having them as charts on the wall and the way that you're describing that, it's very, very powerful. I don't see that many companies doing that and putting that type of level of transparency in their organization. It's powerful that you do that with your employees, and that drives the focus and all that. That's really cool. Now, let's talk a little bit about fears. We all have fears. We all have insecurities. We all have things that stop us from succeeding. For me, I had an intense fear of public speaking. I had an intense fear of networking and meeting people on the fly and so on. And I had to overcome those fears in order for me to find myself, in order for me to be myself, in order for me to get this motivated. What fears did you have to overcome as an entrepreneur in order for you to grow to the levels of success that you have?
That's probably still a work in progress, because I would say that I am not necessarily afraid of public speaking, but I certainly haven't. I don't feel like I've mastered it. So I definitely have that's still ongoing. Let's see, other fears. I will say that's, if we had to describe something specific, I'm not a bungee jumper, never done it, won't ever do it. But within business itself, I think getting to that transparent number, and you know what, honestly, I don't know if this was a fear or something that I just had to overcome, but because we work so hard on what we have, I had to overcome letting go and trusting people to come in, including my staff. My father was my accountant for however long, so now I'm actually he's retired, so I have to invite someone else to come in. And sometimes you have your house and you're comfortable with the way your house is made up, but when you invite other people into it, you kind of you're allowing yourself to become vulnerable, and so that's not always comfortable per se. And so I definitely think that, and then again, that may be something that's ongoing, and I hope that I think that's important for people to always be aware of who it is that they're interacting with, and always have that constant awareness, I guess, for lack of a better term, of who they're interacting with. So I think that's probably been something that I've had to overcome, is just really allowing people to come in and giving up a little bit. I don't like to say that I'm not at all, I wouldn't say I'm a control freak per se. I do like to know what's going on. And so letting go of some of that has been something I've had to overcome.
Wow. A lot of entrepreneurs that are listening to this right now probably resonate with letting go and sometimes being vulnerable and sharing and so on. So yes, that's a fear that a lot of people have, and overcoming that is so necessary in order for you to take your life and your business to the next level. Now, you have over 2,500 clients. You're doing insurance. You have many employees. In order for you to be successful, you have to be able to tap into the leverage of relationships. And you're in a relationship driven business. You mentioned about that one client, right? If it's just one client. No, it's not just one client. Every relationship matters. So what does a relationship mean to you?
Oh, I mean, one thing that is always important to me is other people knowing that they can trust me and that I am like, if there was one, in fact, I attended a funeral this past weekend of a good friend's mother, and I was sitting there thinking, how would I be described at my funeral? And I hope that the one thing that would be said is that you always knew she was being honest. Like, you may not have wanted to hear what she had to say, but she was definitely being honest. And I feel like that would be one thing that you can definitely, that's important to me within relationships, is that I don't ever want anyone to think that, to not trust me. Again, trust and respect, as we know so very well, is a very important core value. And that's definitely something that I always want to know, that I'm genuine in my giving and genuine in my relationship with whoever I'm in a relationship with.
Yeah, that's very, very powerful. So how do you take a relationship to the next level? Like, what is it that you do in order for you to really drive that? Like, because relationships are so important to you. It's one of the things that you want to be remembered by. How do you take a relationship to the next level? What are some things that you do?
I mean, I feel like any time that you can invest in someone else is a way for you to take that relationship to another level. Obviously, again, it's, and especially if you do it without expecting anything in return. It's just a matter of, hey, if you can make a connection for that person, that would benefit them. Or if you can, recently, I hope this is something that they're feeling is taken to the next level. I'm really strongly encouraging my employees to start volunteering and, getting involved in community service. And so it's not something that they had really even considered before, but, I feel like it's important for them to give back. And so hopefully that's, hopefully our relationship is improving as a result of that, because hopefully their feeling of fulfillment with what they're giving back to the community is benefiting them.
That's powerful.
I think anytime that you can invest in someone else is always going to be a way for you to, further strengthen the relationship that you have with them.
I recently heard at a conference that we were both at, a nerve conference in Boston, Massachusetts, and I heard a speaker say that one of the most powerful things you can do to build a relationship with your family, and this probably applies to business too, is to volunteer. Like, how often are you going out with your kids or with your parents or with whatever, your family, and going out and doing some volunteering? And it's just something that you don't really think about when you're doing day to day. You're so busy with your hustle. You're so busy with work. You're so busy doing your thing. But when was the last time you went to a nursing home and cheered up some older folks, some senior citizens? When was the last time you went to a hospital and just cheered somebody up that was dealing with some major issues? When was the last time that you went to go buy a random meal for a homeless person, or join somebody in some struggle that they're having, and so on, or even send somebody that is dealing with some issues, send them a text message of love and blessings and so on? When was the last time that you spent your time, volunteer your time, thinking about somebody else? So that's such a powerful message, and that not only helps you build a relationship with them, it helps you take your relationships, period, to the next level, because it's like a muscle, right? You start valuing relationships more, you start doing more for people, you start thinking about it, and it starts happening more. It's so powerful. Now, some people in business think that business is business and personal is personal, and they don't mix the two. What do you feel about mixing business and personal and all that, especially in the light of one of your failures that you mentioned?
I think it is important. With my business as well, I know that there is, fortunately or unfortunately, again, because it's regulated, we don't necessarily have to, we're not even able to give discount. In fact, this was one of the adversities that I talked about in our South Tampa Chamber Business of the Year, is that, we're not able to adjust the product at all. It is what it is, and, we have to sell it the way that it comes. So we're not able to alter things. There's no friends and family discount or things along those lines. So I think where I can help from business and personal is that when it comes time to a claim. And obviously, that's where I can potentially be personal with all of my clients, because claims are just such an emotional time, whether it be auto or home or, business, whatever the claim is. It's an opportunity. it's an opportunity for me to really show the integrity of our agency and, how we're able to here to support them. But because it is a time where it's very emotional, for sure. It's any sort of loss financially or, homes with fires. Often there's a lot of very personal items that have been lost and can't be replaced. But if we can, be that support system to them, then that's definitely an opportunity for us to be both, business and personal. And
That's powerful.
Help our clients that way.
That is powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, how important is it to have purpose and meaning in your business? Some people say, oh, I'm just doing it for the money. Do you just do it for the money? Is this more than just a job for you?
Oh, yeah. And again, going back to at the time of a claim, on the sales side of things, it's very important for us to have conversations about what does the product mean and how will it help you in the event. Frankly, we make the statement often, we hope you never have to use it, which is true. We do hope that people don't ever have to use their insurance, because again, that means that they've suffered a loss, that they're having to use it, no matter what the loss is. But I have been able to go to homes that, multi-million-dollar homes that have literally burned to the ground, and they have nothing but the clothes on their back, because they got out of the house in the middle of the night when the surge protector caught on fire. And definitely that's when that it's more than a job.
Wow.
How you can help them define where they're going to live, where their kids are going to go, are their kids going to have to change schools, those sorts of things. And because they're not thinking with a clear head. I had a client last week who has a horrible mold claim, and it was on a Friday afternoon. And they're like, you cannot come back in this house because it's absolutely toxic, and your children will, everyone will get sick. And he's like, Laura, I don't have a suit to wear to work tomorrow. Those are the opportunities where we can definitely provide that sort of support, and it's more than just a job.
Wow. Very, very powerful. One final question that I'd like to ask the CEOs that come on this program. What does Mojo mean to you?
Smoothie talk. Yes, I definitely have been exposed to more and more Mojo as a result of knowing you, Joe. So, but I think for a lot of people, and for me as well, it's where you're at your best. It's where you enjoy being. People always use the saying, I got to get my mojo back. And clearly something's off for them if they feel like they have to get it back. So I think it's where someone is most comfortable maybe, and it's where they feel like they're firing on all cylinders, and where they're probably most proud of themselves as well.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. A place where you're firing at all cylinders, that you're most proud of yourself. Thank you very much for being on this program, Laura. It was so amazing having you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
You've been listening to another episode of CEO Mojo, your source for amazing motivation. For more episodes that will get you motivated, go to www.ceomojo.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. If you've enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it and let us know what you think. Thank you for joining us. And remember, Mojo Nation, stay motivated.